You're watching Rene Brun, the official channel.
You are now about to witness the strength of street knowledge.
Hey guys, welcome back to the first of a new series, Shots Fired. This is about street photography, but in this particular episode we're going to be talking about Pubtraits, basically pub portraits. I coined this term back in 2016 when I had an Instagram account called Point and Shoot, P-I-N-T, and Shoot, and that's when I'd be in various pubs and I'd come across different characters who just have a cool look about them, or you know, they'd make a good black and white shot, because I always see these shots in my head before I take them and plan them. So these are basically the portraits and the stories behind them. Sit back, relax and enjoy. Some of you may recognise this chap from before. This is Derek Quinn, aka Skinny, aka Mr. Skinny at Weekends. Rest in peace, he passed away 2 years ago. This photograph was taken outside where the beer kegs are stored at the Racecourse Inn in Baldoyle during COVID times. He took off his glasses because he knew I loved a good black and white shot, and he knows that sometimes I tell him to take them off because you'd get a reflection on the glasses, on the lenses. And he actually did this pose himself. It's quite a striking pose and many people have commented on it. And it's a really nice shot. It's a really favourite shot of mine, showing sort of like a deeper side to Derek that you'd normally see and known for his fun and his laughter when you'd meet him down the pub. Very lovely chap. Richie. Richie is another gentleman who would sit down in the Racecourse Inn. He'd be at a table with my father and friends who I got to know after my mother passed away, and I'd go down and have a drink with my dad and see him and the knights at a round table, as they call it, sitting there having their pints. Richie knows everything about everything, and the joke is you don't need to Google if you have a Richie. He's a lovely gentleman. He used to fight in the wars in South Africa back in the day. I don't see him around anymore, so I'm not sure if he's still with us or he's just immobile, but absolutely lovely gentleman, really nice. Now, not all pictures of people have to be portraits or headshots. This, for example, is a shot of the hand of Tommy Judge, a local taxi man who is unfortunately in a home now. He's a family friend of ours for a very long time, and I just loved all the wrinkles in his hand. It shows all the hard work he's been through over life, and I really just wanted to capture that. So I asked one day, instead of taking a picture where he happily smiled and, you know, he's like, okay, I'm ready for me shot. I said, no, I don't need a portrait. I want to take a picture of your hand. And he was like, for feck's sake. He let me do it, and I think it's actually a nice black and white shot. I just love all the detail on his hand. The Crown Bar in Belfast, right across the road from the Europa Hotel, the world's most bombed hotel since World War II. So yeah, just in the Crown, having met my friend Neil. He lives in Belfast, and we're having a few drinks, and I seen this punk looking fella with his scarf on and all the studs in his denim jacket, something like I used to have growing up in the 80s, you know, being a rocker, and he had a camera on the counter as well, so I knew he was a photographer. And you know, sometimes it's nice to have a picture taken, since you're the one always taking the pictures of everyone else. And he had the nose ring and everything, and I just said, any chance I could take your portrait? I do nice black and whites. And he was happy to pose, and I liked this shot. Again, it's simply just down to, you know, having the courage to go up and approach people. I mean, the worst they're going to say is no. You know, but usually people are happy enough if you approach them nicely and talk to them and just explain what you're doing, maybe show them examples. They're happy to pose for you. Another rocker dude from my old days in school. This is Rory Gurn. Met him outside the Bayside Inn one day, and I saw the hat and I thought it was quite unique. It's like one of those Australian sort of farmer cowboy hats. I thought it was pretty cool looking, and I hadn't seen Rory in years, so I was taking some shots, and I said, hey, listen man, do you mind if I take your portrait? I said, the hat looks pretty cool. and he was fairly happy with that. So yeah, another nice black and white shot. Luckily enough, I do bump into friends sometimes, but other people I meet, I've never met them before, and it's just down to your own charm and persuasion. This next chap here now, this is the White House in Baldoyle. This was an American gentleman. From memory, this was right before COVID kicked off back in 2021, and he was sitting there with his tweed cap on and having his few pints of Guinness, and he was an interesting character. I think he had a connection to Baldoyle for some reason. I don't remember the full conversation, obviously because it's 5 years ago, and of course there was probably a few pints of Guinness involved. But yeah, again, sometimes you just sit, chat with these people for a while, get to know them first, and then when they're comfortable with you, you can take the camera out and say, hey, do you mind if I take your picture? You've a cool looking face, or you've great character in you, and I'd love to take a nice black and white shot with your permission. And that's all you do. It can be as easy as that. So this is Mr. Laddie. He's completely unaware that I took this photograph. It's a nice natural shot. He's just down having his pint of Guinness, quiet pint, and reading the paper, maybe checking the horses for the races later in the day. I had taken this shot and showed him a few days later after I got a print done up, and showed his sons probably a year or two later because I hadn't seen them for such a long time. And they're absolutely delighted with the image of their father. Completely natural. He's completely unaware, no posing. Just his dad relaxing in his little happy place. Not much I can say about this one. Belfast City again. Can't remember the name of the pub. A bit of a rock bar. And what can I say? You can't take a bad photograph of someone with a beard. Beards are always interesting. You never see a boring person with a beard. They're always cool people. Cool or mad. But that's the way it goes. On with the next shot. Marcus Brannock down in the White House in Baldoyle. Another cool character. He's a local poet. Again with the beard. You can't go wrong. Ah, Jesus, would you look who it is? Mr. Skinny, aka Derek Quinn. This time down the White House in Baldoyle Village. As I said, he's posed for a few shots for me in the past, so he's always a great character, Makes a great photograph, black and white all the time. You'd always have a bit of fun with him. I'm glad he's in there again. Keep his memory alive, even though he's passed on. Now, this shot was taken outside the Windjammer in Dublin City. The guy just had a crazy outfit on, crazy black boots. Well, the boots weren't that crazy, but he had a crazy outfit, the plaid trousers and the mad stripy jacket, the weird hair, the blonde and black mixed together, the moustache, porn star moustache, as they say. Interesting character. I just thought he'd make a good picture. Didn't even tell him to pose like this. He just turned away. I snapped a couple of shots, and it's actually one of my favourite shots. I really like it. This one is also in the Windjammer, same day. Sometimes you just need to talk to people. You just randomly go up and start chatting to people outside if they're having a smoke. Now, I don't smoke. We just go outside and chat. Get to know people, listen to their stories. Never underestimate the power of human interaction. I think it's great. I love meeting people and just chatting to them and getting to know them a bit. Interesting story. You see the horse on the table in the middle of the shot. The man sitting down, this is actually his lucky horse. Now, I've never heard of a lucky horse, but it fell one day off the television. Must have been one of those old school TVs, and the neck had snapped off, it broken. So as you can see, he's got it covered in duct tape, and he brings it everywhere with him, especially when he goes to the pub. So he goes into the bookies next door and makes a few bets thanks to his lucky horse. Now, the next two images again are just beardy shots. This is a friend of Marcus Brannock. He was sitting next to me in the pub one day, and I just said, here, do you mind if I take a portrait? I do great black and whites. And he's seen the shots I've taken of Marcus like this one before. He knows I take good black and white shots. So he was happy to pose for me. And once again, just a reminder, you don't have to take portraits of people or shots showing their faces. In this case, this was a Pittsburgh Steelers American football match in Dublin. I can't remember the team they were playing against, but these were fans sitting in bows in the city centre, and it's interesting to see the fans sitting next to each other, just enjoying themselves, enjoying the pints of Guinness, no rivalry, just a shot with their jerseys on. And again, it's something I like. Now, you might necessarily like taking shots like that, but I like the way it has a little story to it. This is the last pub trait I've taken in this series. Anyway, not in this series, but the last shot I've actually taken, most recently I should say. This is a limo driver called Martin drinking down the White House in Baldoyle village. He's always dressed in a suit. He looks very smart, and I just thought he looked good. I said, do you mind if I take a shot but not a posed one? And he goes, yeah, I've seen all your pictures. I wouldn't let anyone take my picture, but I've seen your pictures. You're very passionate, you're very precise, and they're elegant shots, so I'm very happy to pose for you. And that was a lovely comment to have. It was lovely to get feedback like that. Derek, you're taking the piss now, jumping in for a third time into these photos. Yes, again, this wasn't a posed shot. He had just come in from walking down to the pub, and he was absolutely freezing. He still had his hood over his head, and I immediately thought, Jesus, he looks like the general, a Dublin gangster, you know, always trying to keep his head covered, his face covered. So I just took that shot quickly on the sly. I love it. I think it's a great shot. Well, that's it for the end of this episode. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you enjoyed seeing some of the photographs, the stories behind it. Hopefully encourage you to maybe try to take a few yourself next time you're out. Just remember, always be polite and courteous. If they say no, that's absolutely fine. Don't push it, you know. Your safety is priority and number one. So always look after yourself. If you have any comments or feedback, please feel free to let me know. If you want any tips or advice, or want to come out, come out with me sometime when I do that, do some pub traits, also drop me a line. You can follow me on Instagram at Rene Bruin Official also. And thank you very much for watching. Don't forget, like and subscribe if you're not already a follower of the channel. Thank you.